You could feel the air thicken in that sleek San Francisco conference room, the kind with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the fog-shrouded bay. As Rebecca Hayes, our fresh-off-the-plane COO, slammed her almond milk latte down like it was a gavel in a courtroom drama. "I'm done funding this relic," she barked, her voice slicing through the hum of laptops and murmured agreements. She'd barely unpacked her designer luggage after 3 months on the job, and already she was dissecting Nextech like a surgeon with a grudge. I watched her strut before the projector screen, her stilettos clicking like countdown timers, her Botox-smooth face twisted in that corporate conqueror's grin. Alex didn't move a muscle. He sat in the shadowed corner of what they now called the Innovation Hub, flipping through his worn leather notebook as if the world hadn't just tilted on its axis. No gadgets. No screens, just ink on paper and a silence that hung heavy, making the VPs shift in their ergonomic chairs. She jabbed a manicured finger at him. "That's the problem right there. We're hemorrhaging cash on fossils like Alex who code like it's the dial-up era." The new hires snickered. The CTO hid a smirk behind his coffee. Even HR cracked a smile. "Alex?" He didn't glance up. But I did. Because while they patted themselves on the back for modernizing the soul out of the place, I remembered the late-night garage sessions where Alex sketched the original framework on a pizza-stained napkin, fueled by black coffee and a vision so solid it could withstand a market crash. Nextech started as a bootstrap miracle in a cramped Oakland warehouse, back when startups were about grit, not glitter. I joined just as they outgrew the folding tables, before the venture capital flooded in and diluted the dream. We crafted a compliance automation platform that let big corporations streamline their regulatory nightmares with plug-and-play modules no competitor could touch. It was rock solid, elegant, every algorithm bearing Alex's imprint like a family heirloom. But after the Series B infusion, things soured. Alex got shuffled to senior advisor, tech speak for, "We can't afford to lose your brain, but we don't want your input." Investors kept him around for the optics, some obscure IP tie-in they skimmed over in the fine print. So he faded into the background, a quiet relic in a sea of ping-pong tables and kombucha taps. Then Rebecca arrived, poached from a Wall Street fintech behemoth where layoffs were her love language. She redefined disruption as dismantling anything that smelled like yesterday. By her first week, she was redrawing org charts with a Sharpie, tossing around buzzwords like agile synergy and pivot velocity in stand-ups that felt more like interrogations. Her heels echoed through the open plan office like warning shots. By month 2, she'd scrubbed Alex's contributions from the company wiki, claiming it cluttered the narrative for onboarding. He didn't fight it. That's Alex for you. He absorbed the slights like a sponge, never raising his voice, never firing off a heated email. He just kept clocking in, scribbling notes, observing as the empire he architected got repainted in millennial pink. She doubled down in that meeting. Legacy systems are anchors dragging us down. If we don't gut the back end, we'll sink before we scale. She had a point on growth, but she missed the human cost, the quiet erosion of loyalty that turns trust into resentment. While she chased unicorn status like it was a Black Friday deal, no one recalled the safeguard Alex had embedded from day one. Not the board, not the lawyers, nobody but him. And when our eyes met after she sneered, "We own your code." Buddy, I saw the spark. Not rage, not vengeance, just a calculated patience. The kind that whispers, "Keep digging your grave, I'll hand you the shovel." She dubbed it a strategic refresh, announcing it in an all-hands Zoom with the enthusiasm of an infomercial host. By week's end, half the staff was pink-slipped. Teams merged like mismatched puzzle pieces. Old Slack threads vaporized in the name of clarity. Alex's profile vanished from the directory overnight, as if he'd been a bug in the system. The investor pitch she circulated was a masterpiece of gloss, charts in pastel hues. No nod to the foundational code. As if the platform had bootstrapped itself in a boardroom brainstorm. I skimmed the deck and felt a chill. They'd erased the roots. Pretending the tree grew from thin air. The summons came without fanfare, a cryptic calendar invite labeled Core Alignment with Rebecca's initials and a video link. Alex joined from his modest home office in the East Bay suburbs, a plain room with faded posters of old algorithms and shelves groaning under outdated tech manuals. Rebecca leaned into her webcam. Script in hand. Alex, we've assessed your fit, and it's not aligning with our trajectory. He nodded. Expressionless. She smirked. Adding, legals confirmed, we own the IP outright. You're free to go. The silence stretched like a taut wire. Alex blinked, muttered understood, and logged off without a ripple. Rebecca probably high-fived her reflection, thinking she'd excised a tumor. But she'd ignited a fuse, one buried deep in the paperwork she'd never bothered to read. That evening, I lingered at the office, tweaking a roadmap under her micromanaging glare. Passing Alex's empty desk, I noticed his chair angled oddly toward a forgotten file drawer. He hadn't packed a thing. Hadn't wiped his drives because the real value wasn't physical. He'd safeguarded it years ago, in layers of legal foresight born from past betrayals. The next day, Rebecca paraded through the cubicles chanting forward momentum like a mantra, etching it on whiteboards and HR portals. But whispers started in the legal department. The CTO scheduling frantic audits, his face paling like he'd uncovered a landmine. Alex's apartment in Berkeley felt like a time capsule, stacked boxes from moves never completed, cables snaking like vines, dust settling on dreams deferred. I hadn't visited since the early funding parties. But that night, armed with takeout coffee and unease, he let me in without a word. They violated the terms, he said, voice steady as he plugged an ancient USB into his clunky laptop. I assumed metaphor, broken promises, erased history. But no, it was literal. Folders bloomed on screen, founding documents, IP assignments, all timestamped to the garage days. He scrolled to Clause 14B in his original contract, all core software, modules, and infrastructure developed by Lawson Innovations LLC for Nextech shall remain sole property of Lawson Innovations. Nextech holds a non-exclusive, annually renewable license, lapsing after 14 days without written renewal. My gut twisted. They never renewed? He pulled up his personal log, every sign-off from past execs. The last one over a year stale. Too busy rebranding to check the lease. It wasn't triumph in his eyes, it was the weary ache of a man who'd given his all, only to be discarded like yesterday's code. The platform's APIs still routed through his LLC's keys, live and pulsing. One command, and it all unravels, he murmured, staring at the console. But he didn't type it. Not yet. He closed the laptop, gazed out at the city lights. They assumed ownership because they never asked about the strings attached. The betrayal stung him deeper than anger, years of silent dedication repaid with oblivion. Summit Ventures didn't buy into hype like the previous investors. They arrived in understated khakis, armed with due diligence checklists that could dismantle empires. Their questions cut deep, full IP chain of custody. Not summaries. Rebecca waved it off. Fully proprietary. No loose ends. But their lead attorney, Elena Ramirez, probed the legacy layers, her eyes narrowing at every gloss over. That night, Alex texted me, time. He didn't contact them directly, he routed through his retained lawyer. A shark named Priya Khan who'd toppled tech giants before. A terse disclosure landed in Summit's inbox, ownership claim, expiration date, clause reference. No drama, just facts. By dawn, Elena requested a solo meet with Alex. Off-site. No frills. I wasn't there. But he recounted it later. Voice flat. They asked if the license lives. And? Expired. It wasn't payback, it was rectification. The quiet assertion of a man whose contributions had been buried under egos. Back at Nextech, Rebecca forged ahead with logo tweaks and merger mocks, oblivious as Summit's responses trickled to silence. Then probing queries that made legal sweat. Her pitch deck, once a beacon, now glowed toxic. The offsite at a neutral downtown hotel was sterile, white walls, a polished oak table. Alex arrived with a slim folder. Facing Elena alone, she demanded the originals. He obliged. She read. Underlined. Exhaled sharply. They've been selling unlicensed IP. Alex corrected softly, renting without renewal. She stood abruptly. Deal's off. As she left with the docs. The weight settled. Summit wasn't just withdrawing, they were shielding themselves from the fallout. The pullout was phantom quiet, no announcements. Just revoked access and ghosted emails. Rebecca sensed it mid-afternoon, her composure cracking over minor glitches. By Friday, she was scapegoating everyone from interns to legal for IP oversights. A leaked Slack thread went viral internally, the CTO admitting, "We never formalized the assignment post-Series C." Morale cratered. Devs whispered about haunted code. From a park bench across the street, Alex watched the frenzy, sipping diner coffee. I joined him. They're scrambling to backdate. He shrugged. Let them. I built it for longevity, not theft. The hurt ran deep, their disregard a wound that festered in silence, pushing him to reclaim what was his. They tried a frantic rebuild, dubbing it Operation Reboot. Engineers dissected the back end. But Alex's design was a fortress, validation loops that demanded his LLC's ping every few days. Without it, systems faltered. Outages hit clients hard, dashboards froze. Audits vanished. Panic calls flooded in, penalties loomed. No malice from Alex, just the architecture enforcing its own rules. A formal letter arrived at his door. Regrets. Offers to renegotiate. He set it aside like junk mail. They ignored my warnings years ago, he said. The betrayal's scar twisting tighter. The board convened a dawn emergency session. Alex entered with his laptop. Laid out terms, triple fees, perpetual ownership. His name restored as architect. Rebecca ousted. We expected collaboration, one grumbled. You had it, until you erased me. They signed in defeat. Rebecca stormed in post facto. Rage boiling. But security escorted her out. As she glared at Alex, he revived the platform with a keystroke. Systems humming back to life. No cheers, just stunned silence. They offered him everything. He took a 1-year license renewal and walked away. I don't want the throne, he told me later. Just my due. Summit didn't parade their new hire. In their minimalist HQ, Alex signed on as CTO. Autonomy intact. His IP licensed exclusively. Nextech leased from them now. A humbling reversal. Rebecca, isolated in her former office, watched the announcement flicker, her empire reduced to a footnote. Alex stepped into the sunlight. The weight of betrayal lifted. But the cost etched in his quiet gaze, the price of silence turned to thunder. A restoration paid in solitude.